And welcome back, Freedom Warriors, to Essential Talks, where you come for the conversation and you leave empowered. I'm your host, Jamie Russo, and today I have with me Ron Theriault, and he is the owner of Corunna Fitness Center, and that's in Sarnia, correct, Ron?
It's actually in Corunna, just south of Sarnia.
Okay, perfect. So it's in and around that area. So that's amazing. So Ron has had his business open, and we're gonna kind of go through that. He's opened up pretty early on in the game, and first tell us how long you've been in business, Ron, and then kind of your first experiences and kind of where it's drifted to now.
I've been in business for just a little over 8 years. Started basically from ground up. I built a gym. There was another gym in our small town. They closed, and I bought their equipment, added to it, made a bigger facility, and built my own brand. So 7 years later, 6 years later, we have faced the lockdowns and stuff like that, in which everything was questionable. So we closed for the first 17 or 18 weeks, and then there was another closure. How long was that, Shelley?
8 weeks.
The other 8 weeks, and then February 2021, when we were allowed to open, it was only for a month, or not quite a month, and told to close again on March 13th or for March 14th or 15th. They gave us notice on the 13th. Coincidentally, how we work a lot of our payments, our pre-authorized payment plan comes out on the 15th of each month, which would have meant no payment, no income from the previous 8 weeks, because when we reopened, I allotted people their month, so it ended up being 6 weeks. And then when I thought that I couldn't take that March payment, I said no way, right? Okay. It was either be devastated and have nothing and close, most likely for good, or sell a partially dilapidated business, or and I wasn't having it. People wanted me, so I had the balls to open, and I stayed open.
Nice. Now, did you send out an email to your clients and get a feel for it? A lot of people usually do that, especially in the gym industry.
Yeah, so I guess a mistake I made is I don't have all my clients' email list. I do have their phone numbers, but being that we are somewhat of this smaller community that we are, I've only got maybe at the busiest of times, maybe 500 members, at the slowest of times, 400 members. And they all sort of know me, I see them locally, we talk. I think my face in the news on CTV from here to Windsor to London, you probably know when, on that March, everybody, kind of knew the jig was up. I'm not closing. So I really didn't have to send the emails. I did lose about 30% of my members because, people were still scared. Coincidentally, on the flip side of that, I gained at least 30% of new clients, and people just, wanted to, because other gyms in the area were closed and they knew I wasn't. So they were coming from Sarnia and surrounding area, even as far away from as London.
Yeah, that seems to be a trend. A lot of businesses that are afraid to open up, they're afraid of what the community is going to think. A lot of times you're going to lose some of your clientele, but you're going to gain right back. Even myself, I lost a little bit, but I started to gain quite a few. And like yourself, I have a lot of travelers. I've had people, like I'm in Barrie, so I've had people come from Hamilton, just because they didn't have to wear a mask, or we honored mask exempts. You know what I mean? So it is pretty insane. Again, that fear of what everyone's going to think, and then the reality is you wind up getting busier than ever. So tell us a little bit about your experiences on your interactions, because I know you had quite a few in the beginning. I myself only had 3 in total, but walk us through some of your interactions that you had.
So I the very first one, and it was the showcase for the papers. There was a reporter there. Ironically, I don't know how he was there, but I had 3, relatively large police at my door, and of course, I was smart enough to not let them in. I met them outside, and there's me standing in front of my business, speaking with them, and them, asking me to close. Literally in the terms, those words, asking. I'm like, I've done that. I've been there. Seems you're asking, I'm not complying. And I just said, so they had sort of, excuse me, threatened with, some fines or monetary penalties. And I said, well, do what you have to do. You do what you have to do. And I made no enemy with law enforcement. As a matter, like some of my best friends, we all have friends in law enforcement, and I said, I know my fight's not with you. My fight is with the people that are controlling you. So it wasn't, although they were there to intimidate, I very quickly, had them feeling for me. And I said, fine me, do what you have to do. And they said, well, we don't want to fine you. I go, well, then your choice is to leave. And he says, but you're in contravention of the act. I said, well, then fine me. He said, well, I don't want to fine you. We literally did that dance for, I have it on video. I think it was 7 minutes. And I don't know how many times it was said, but it was that exact dance. And I gave them a copy of the Bill of Rights. And I have, and I underlined the couple of parts that was sent to me from We Are All Essential, and they ended up leaving. they didn't do anything. They left. I had 6 other visits with fewer, officers. There was the 2 staff sergeants, and they strolled up. Hey, Ron, how you doing? I go, good. And, you're in contravention of the act. And I go, so says you. I'll be here tomorrow if you want to talk then too. And it was, amicable to the sense that, well, I actually sent the staff sergeant who left me his card, the section of the act that allows gyms to be open for the disabled or those with a mental, disability or physical, or that need, therapy and so on and so forth, because they didn't do, or nor did they ask about any, and they didn't do any investigative work to see if that's actually why I was open or not.
Yep.
So, then went another, warning or another drive-by and maybe a phone call and whatever. I played the game with not having my open sign on, and had a doorbell out there with the windows taped up, and now I've got my windows to the gym blocked just to protect my members, but my office doors are glass and now still see-through. And I put my open sign up now, and I do still have the door locked and use the doorbell thing, because I'm not going to welcome any, in trespassing from any law enforcement, be it OPP or medical, whatever. Anybody decides to come, they've got to ask me permission to enter, because it's a private facility, right?
Yeah.
So on the 7th visit, he called me and said he was coming with a fine. Great cop, local guy, super nice. I had him every bit as upset and tears in his eyes as I had in mine for just trying to make a living. And I can't believe that, Like we're taught, in school at such a young age, and or by your parents, the police are the good guys, listen, and blah blah blah, and you won't have any problems. So here you're fighting every urge as a law-abiding citizen. You're fighting every urge to comply, right? Because you
Yeah.
have the law asking you or telling you that you need to comply and close, and it just it's a big internal battle that happens, full of anxiety when you're standing in front of your business that you built fucking 6 years, excuse my language,
Yeah.
and it's the good guys that are telling you to close. So I just wouldn't do it. I won't do it.
Yeah, and that's the irony behind it, because we're honest business men and women that are just trying to make a living, and it'd be one thing if everything was closed, but it's another thing when you can have 500 to 1,000 people in Costco and Walmart, right? And you can be right beside each other, no social distancing, and whether they have masks on or whatever, it doesn't matter, but they're not wiping down all the equipment. You're watching everybody just hammering on that keypad of the
Yeah.
Interact. Whereas, in your gym and the same as my facility, we're constantly wiping everything down and making sure everything is nice and proper. And we have a
Yeah.
lower volume of people coming in. So it's just not a fair situation. You're being an honest businessman, and you're being told by, like you said, the good guys to shut your doors. And we all know it's wrong.
Yeah.
So I think
100%. So I got the one fine, the 880. I clicked it to fight. There seems to be a mistake on the ticket itself, whether it was done purposefully or not by the officer. That remains to be seen. But I picked out a mistake. So it's my understanding that some of these won't. But nonetheless, I'm fighting it. I'm fully prepared to fight it, or any other tickets that I could potentially get in the future, because, well, I'm just not going anywhere.
yeah,
So,
definitely.
yeah, it's the my numbers, I guess, are probably fairly close to what they were pre pandemic. There is the whole thing which business owners, as yourself and I, don't like the backside of, when making a decision like this, is knowing that there's clients and some of your members, my members, your clients, that will never come back because you made the decision to stay open. And that hurts a little bit, because I'm a good guy. Like,
Yeah.
I don't I try my best. I put my best foot forward. I offer quality services. I don't monopolize. I'm fair, and I worked long and hard, maybe where some other questionable business practices may or may not have been practiced by others in my industry. Previously to me being here, I kind of fought tooth and nail to get to, a good spot. I'm a 24-hour access facility for a small town. We're 5,500 square feet in total. And, for a small town with little members, I think we have a kick-ass facility. And not everybody sees it that way. Not everybody sees the honesty and the efforts and the righteous side of what we're doing.
Exactly. And they probably never will. So, have you had any with the last lockdown? Have you had any visits? And can you compare the two from when you first opened to kind of now, whether they were a little more stern in the beginning or?
Well, they were stern in the beginning, and they tried all their tactics. But again, I think, be it my demeanor or the type of police that we have here are very understanding. They were stern in the beginning, and they they did their job, and I know what their job is. But this time I really haven't. So again, maybe because of our smaller community, maybe like I had one phone call from police at this time, and it was really, he said, so somebody called the rat line, and the rat line goes to public health. Public health then in turn called the OPP and said that they saw 2 people in the gym. They didn't see 2 people in the gym because the gym windows are taped up. What they saw was 2 people in the office.
Yeah.
And I'm entitled to be there. It was my wife and I. So
Yeah.
we were in the office, and somebody walked by and saw us and decided to call the rat line. We basically explained that to the police. They didn't have anything else to say, and it was the end of it. So I think, others in the community that I know the restaurants are standing strong and hard and proud, and as every bit as proud as I am, but they seem to get a little more, well, because they're supposed to be closed and people are eating in.
Yeah.
So other people, the rat line gets called and abused. So they go. And I haven't had the visits this time around. So, I had one phone call conversation with the police, and it was my wife that took it. I was in the gym.
Yeah.
So it does seem to be more lax in the sense that, to my understanding, the law enforcement community as a whole knows that it's wrong, knows that they know the jig is up. They know it's bullshit. They know it's wrong. They know it's fundamentally against our rights, and the ones at least that have a conscience. And even from videos I've seen, for example, the same videos you or anybody else would have seen, those videos depict the health services, Lambton or wherever the health services is the bad guy, right? They're doing their job, but they're the bad guy. Police is there just to stop any violence should somebody act out upon the health services. It seems to be. Police aren't saying anything.
Now, the funny thing about that is because, like, I've dealt with a health board, for over 25 years. The business I have is over 30 years old, but I took it over, and I've dealt with them forever, and I've never seen them show up to my facility with police. So I question that, because if you're coming with armed men, then you have to know you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because before that, I always got one inspector, and then all of a sudden, the day I opened, I wound up with a police officer, 2 health inspectors, 2 bylaw,
I see.
whatever. Then the next visit was 2 police officers and 2 health, and you know what I mean, and so on. And so that's the biggest question I have, is if you knew you were doing what was right, and you've been dealing with businesses for years, why all of a sudden do you need to show up with armed men? Like, you know that something's wrong.
Right.
You have to.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. I never even thought of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, right now with We Are Essential, we're doing a whole fitness rebellion, and we're encouraging a lot of gym owners out there to open up, start to get involved with the gyms. We can really start the whole push forward, and then we get the restaurants and all kinds of other businesses to tag in. By all means, any business that is watching, whatever you're in, just open your doors. But I'm going to ask you a question I've been asking everybody. If there was anything you would have done different from when you opened, what would it be?
From when I decided to open about after the lockdowns, you mean?
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know. I play with a little bit. Should I have been louder and prouder? And whereas it seems that the businesses that are gain a little bit of momentum.
Yeah.
They gain some clientele. I struggle with that a little bit. I talk to my wife, should we be louder? Should we make more noise? Be it to encourage others, business owners, to do the same, or be it to benefit ourselves because we've been monetarily harmed by all of this. I flirt with that. I question whether I should have done it or been louder or prouder, earlier, or just been louder about it when I did decide to stay open and take a stand, and be it social media or news, when mainstream decided to call and get my 2 cents instead of saying no comment. I flirted with that. I don't know if I would have done it differently or not, because I can still be successful doing what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
So with that comes the added stress of, projecting to even the public figures that have a key in all of this, that I am open to, so for them to then wage war against me,
Yeah.
So there's that. There's the added stress. If I was louder and made more noise, maybe I would have benefited, but I think I would have had more headaches. So I flirt with that all the time. So that's about the only difference. I did my research and formed my opinion. The way I did, it wouldn't have been any different. I lasted as long as I could closed. Other people were, awake sooner than I was. Would I have done that any differently? Probably not. I mean, I'm still me. So those steps would have been the same. But that's about it. I go to, I've met you, and I go to the odd rally, and I encourage anybody, if they're in the fitness industry, that if they want to contact me, by all means, contact me, and I can help with some things. I've got some speeches, I've got some words ready that I'm gonna say to law enforcement, should public health official, whoever show up, or just to be with like-minded people, even because the Sarnia area is so small. Like Sarnia is 75,000. St. Clair Township, where I am, is about 15,000 people. It's a bit of a competitive industry, but I think there's gyms. There's one, Sharky's in particular, locally. We've kind of made allies and friendships together, because we've got to help each other through this, right? And there's enough for everybody to be successful. So I think in the end that's what we need to do, is just stick together. So if anybody wants to contact me, I encourage them. I'll talk to, or try and whatever way I can. How I've drawn from you, I've drawn from others in the industry. Mitch Hewison, I drew a bit from him. Very, very glad to know him. I actually went to his facility and visited him. He's a couple hours away from me one time, so it was good. I actually met him. And it's empowering to be with and to talk with like-minded individuals without feeling that you're being judged or persecuted.
Exactly. I highly encourage that too. Face-to-face meetings and getting out there is very beneficial for your mind, your body, and your soul. It gives you a little bit of a pep, especially when you're around the like-minded people. That sometimes we're going through questions: am I crazy? Am I this? Am I that? But once you start to get around those the people, you really start to know that no, it's not just you. You can actually start to see everything more clear, puts you at ease, and that kind of stuff. So anyone, I encourage you to get a hold of myself or either Ron, that are sitting on the fence. You want to know any information? I'm in Pushing Ink Tattoo Emporium in Barrie, and Ron is Corunna Fitness Center is Corunna. Is that the location? Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So feel free to get a hold of him. Also, we are representing We Are All Essential. So that's weareallessential.ca. You can go and join as a business. You don't have to go public right away. You can just register and be off the radar, so to speak. Go through all the education that they have there. There's legal, common law. Get yourself educated on what your rights are, how to take a stand. There's some videos showing some examples of people standing up. A lot of stuff to go through, and then go ahead and make your stand when you're ready. And then you can go public with it. You can be quiet with it. You can do whatever you need to do. We encourage to keep the open signs on. Anyone else that's out there listening and they want to get involved, you can also join We Are Essential as volunteers. We need that support system as businesses to help us organize, coordinate, and do things like the Fitness Rebellion, which we're in the middle of right now. And we have a lot of gyms that are opening up. So, and when I asked you that question, Ron, about what you would do different, a lot of the gym owners are saying, I should have did it sooner. Knowing what you know now, I should have did it sooner. But your answer was really good because you really thought about it. So if you went louder, would you have got busier? That kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the only thing. I mean, that would be the only thing I and again, I still flirt with. Should I make more posts on social media? Should I, because we've all encountered bullying from online social media. Because we stayed open. The Instagram is just nasty for that. People creating accounts just to threaten and they know, so you're loud. So they, I'm calling the cops. You're done. You're tomorrow. You're blah, blah, blah. And, I'm not that great with technical devices, and I struggle, but I did learn to delete and block from Instagram. Nice. And you can't hurt my feelings. I really don't care. It's not that, but it's the constant bombardment at the one time. Anyways, so anyway, I still flirt with that. Should I be louder? Should I be? And I mean, maybe this is a little bit of a way I'm doing that. Maybe.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Sooner. I don't know if it would have been sooner. Would I have lost more members, or like it was the first 17 weeks and then the next 8 weeks? I mean, everybody learns different lessons at different paces. So, I don't have any regrets. I lost a lot of money. We all did. Regret. Money isn't everything. So, that's not really a regret. So I wanted to make sure if I was making the right decision for my people, for me, for the business to be sustainable. And had I done it sooner, would I have been persecuted more? I don't know. But so I don't have regrets that way. Like I said, the only thing would be louder and prouder or not. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm seeing the trend I'm kind of seeing right now is as businesses are opening up now, they don't seem to be getting hammered the same way like when Adam Skelly opened up Adamson's Barbecue. The way he got hammered, a couple other individuals. I was the first in my area, and they hit me pretty good. And there's been some pretty good examples out there, but it doesn't seem to be the same pace anymore. And then with the tickets, any of the summons, any of that stuff, you can fight it in court. As soon as one of us, winds up proving that this is going against our fundamental rights, our unalienable rights, it's all going to drop right across the board. So the idea is you get as many tickets as you can, open up, get those doors open, get the tickets. It's going to take you over a year before you're even in the court anyway. To be dealing with them. They're going to just keep bringing you back and string you along. And then by the time we get there, somebody's going to be able to knock this house of cards down. And then once they do that, everything just drops. So we're encouraging, just get open, learn your stuff, open your doors. So
I think you're right about that, Jamie. The more people are realizing that those rights are inalienable, and there's nothing that that can stand in front of those. So I think that you're 100% right. Maybe a little louder and prouder than I was, but to open is the most important thing, because it is essential. We need this to make our society go around. Like all the businesses that are, I can't imagine how many businesses close permanently, and it sure seems like they want more to close. So I don't know, if you don't stand up for yourself, stand up for your kids. I'm approaching 50 years old. Do I care what happens to myself at this point? Not really, but I'm standing up for my daughter. I would rather her not be a slave in the future. So bring on the fines to me, bring on the bullying, bring whatever you got. I really don't, it really doesn't bother me. I would sooner see my daughter in a more peaceful future as we did when we were kids, with opportunity.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, I think that's a great note to end it on. If you can't stand up for yourself, stand up for your children, your grandchildren, future generations.
Right.
And just get that confidence, learn your stuff, open your doors. We got this.
Confidence is key, Jamie. Confidence is key, and it doesn't take much but a spark. And as soon as you stand up a little bit, you'll gain a little bit more confidence, and then all of a sudden you have all the confidence in the world that you need to, as you did when you opened or started or your business, full of expectation, full of piss and vinegar, I guess we call it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's where it needs to go.
I agree. So we'll just end it on this note. Thank you so much for being here, Ron, and sharing your story and inspiring others to open. Thank you, and hats off to you, my friend.
All right, man. Take care, Jamie. Thanks a lot.
We'll see you.
All right. Bye-bye.